So I took a minute and watched a YouTube conversation between some Chinese scholars. Sure, I pronounced the name of the stories that your article indicates correctly.
Oh, yeah.
So as a result, hopefully I will pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, it is a 西游记.
Yoji.
Yes, that's perfect. That's the accent is very difficult for the for American students. I have a class, I'm teaching language class. The accent is very difficult to pronounce.
Yeah. I had a friend who he was from China working on his PhD in engineering, and he tried to teach me some phrases. I don't have the ear for it.
Well, you can consider taking some of our classes.
I've actually thought about that because I would really love to learn Chinese.
Okay.
It's the language that fascinates me the most, and would definitely like to do it. And that's why he tried to teach me some things, because I was very interested in people there.
Yeah.
Maybe whenever things return to normal, then I will see about doing that.
Okay, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll just give it another minute. It looks like we have quite a few people already in, and we'll get started in just a minute, okay? All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started? That way we can get the most out of our time. My name is Mark Shelton, and I am the Director of Library Services here at the College of the Holy Cross. I would like to welcome you to our Authors on the Hill event. We had a very good one yesterday as well. I would like to particularly welcome those of you who are affiliated with the Worcester Art Museum who are joining us today too. Before I introduce our speaker, I do want to do a little housekeeping about how things will run. What you'll notice is that everyone will be muted during the entire time during the event. I am sure you have lots of questions, or you are going to have lots of questions. So please post them into the chat, and after our speaker is done making his presentation, I will pose your questions to Professor Hao. Please be aware that we are recording this event, and it is being live streamed on YouTube. Just want to make sure that everybody was aware of that. So that we can get as much out of the hour as possible, we'll go ahead and get started. Our professor today is Professor Ji Hao. He's an Associate Professor of Chinese in the Department of World Languages, Literatures, and Cultures here at the College of the Holy Cross. He is also Coordinator of Chinese Studies. He received his PhD in 2012 from the University of Minnesota, and that same year he started here at the College of the Holy Cross. Today, Professor Hao will be speaking on his publication, A Newly Discovered Song Sculpture at the Worcester Art Museum in the United States, and its relationship to Jiaoji stories. Please welcome Professor Ji Hao.
Okay, I heard the applause. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, thank Mark for the kind introduction. I also want to thank Laura for inviting me to share my research here, and thanks also go to Carrie for designing the poster, very beautiful poster. I talked to Laura. Particularly, I like this the color, orange color. It carries Halloween feel. So, and also in the novel I'm going to talk about today, The Journey to the West, there are also some of the spooky scenes, right? If you couldn't attend any party for the Halloween, you can just read the novel, okay, for fun. All right. Okay. So I'm not an art historian, so I'm not the Buddhist scholar either. So today I'm I'm going to most focus on the stories. Okay, so the story of the Journey to the West, and also I'm going to talk about my story with the sculpture, and also the story between the sculpture and the Journey to the West, the 西游记 tradition. Okay, let me first share my screen, and also I want to thank my colleagues and the students and the friends for coming, and welcome to all of you. Okay. 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 All right. So today I'm going to talk about the Song sculpture at the Worcester Art Museum and its relationship with the 西游记 stories. So the 西游记 means journey to the West. Okay. So so before we start, I was wondering how many of you have read the novel or heard about the stories or watched the video clips on YouTube or watched some movies or even played the video games related to the Journey to the West, the Monkey King? You can raise your hand and get the sense. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw some of my colleagues and some students as well, right? Okay. And but also there are some people who haven't had chance to read the story. So let me briefly introduce the novel first. So the 西游记, The Journey to the West, is a 100-chapter novel produced in the Ming Dynasty in China. It's around the late 16th century. So it consists of 3 parts. So the first part is about the Monkey King. So how he was born, how he acquired the magic power, and how he battled against the heaven, and eventually how he was defeated by the Buddha and imprisoned under the mountain of the 5 phases. So basically, as the monkey, right, Monkey King, right, was born out of the rock, and so one day he and other monkey were playing outside. They saw this one beautiful waterfall. So all the monkeys were curious what lay behind the waterfall. So they said, whoever can jump across the waterfall and find out what lay behind the waterfall will be our king. So the monkey was fearless, so he volunteered and succeeded. And he discovered there is a wonderful cave behind the waterfall. So the cave's name is called Water Curtain Cave. So you can imagine the waterfall become a curtain of the cave. So so basically he's kind of the leader. He solved the housing problem for all the monkeys. So he became the Monkey King, and but soon after some time there was a fair. Right? So one day they had a party. The monkeys were having a party, and they are drinking and they're eating, and then everyone got a little bit tipsy, right? And all of a sudden, this Monkey King started to cry. So all other monkeys are puzzled, and they ask him, "Why, Your Majesty? Why do you cry? Why do you cry? Right? We are having a party, right? Why?" So the monkey said, "Yeah, everyone's happy now, yes, but what about the future? Right? In future, we are all gonna die, right?" So, and so you can tell this monkey is different from the rest of the monkeys. He really has kind of has the what we call the strategic vision, right? You think about the future, not just enjoy the moments. And so there is one of the attendants said to him, so if you want to live forever, if you want to become immortal, you can find the immortal, right? If you can learn from it, then you can escape the death. So the monkey was determined to do that, and he set out and to look for the immortal, and eventually he found the Taoist immortal. And then he acquired the supernatural power, and then he came back and he went to the hill and actually crossed out all the names on the register, of the life and death, right? According to the legend here, under the hill, the Yama King, in charge of all kinds of the people's life and all sentient beings, people's life, their lifespans written on the register. So the Monkey King saw the monkey, his own name, and also other monkeys. He crossed out all the names, so all the monkeys and himself become immortal. And then he was not satisfied. So later on, he called himself the great sage equal to heaven. So he launched the war against heaven, the force of heaven. He wanted to be the emperor of the heaven. So, and the Jade emperor from heaven sent the troops, right? Sent an army tried to subdue the monkey. But the monkey was powerful and no one can really subdue him. At one time he was captured, but they couldn't do nothing about him. They couldn't kill him. And so he escaped. And so at last the Buddha came. The Buddha came and he actually wagered a bet with the monkey, said, okay, now let's make a bet. So if you can jump, I know you are powerful. You can jump off my palm, right? My hand, then I can let you become the emperor. So the emperor of the heaven. So the monkey said, are you kidding me? So I'm very good at a somersault, right? So one of the talent of the monkey has is a somersault. So one somersault, it can fly 1,000 miles away. So he accepted the challenge and accept challenge. So, and then he, with one somersault, he flew away, right? And then he arrived this kind of the places with the 5 pink pillars. And the monkey thought that he arrived at the edge of the world. So he should stop. He couldn't, he should stop there, okay? And then he plugged here and blew an air onto it and transformed into the writing brush. So he wrote the words on the one of the pillar. So it says the monkey king reached here, right, as evidence, right? Because after went back, he want to argue with the Buddha, right? He needed some evidence. It's just like if you drive on the street, you see some cars with a bumper sticker. This car climbed Mount Washington, those kind of things, the evidence, right? So, but he's a monkey, he's an animal, right? He's kind of different from human beings. He has, like most animals, he has these kind of different ways to leave the mark, the evidence, right? So he also urinated and is under the pillar. And then he flew back and talked to the Buddha, right? So he said, you lost the bet, right? You lost the bet. And the Buddha said, no, you're a monkey. You just, you still within my hand, right? It turns out the the pink pillar was actually the 5 fingers of Buddha's hand. So it's all the time he stayed within the Buddha's hand. And of course, there was a smile of the monkey's urine as well. So before monkey could figure out what happened, the Buddha flipped over his hand and he transformed his hand, right, into a mountain of 5 phases, 5 elements. So the monkey was trapped under the mountain. So this is the first part of the first part of the novel, probably the most exciting part of the novel. And then the second part is about Xuanzang. Xuanzang is a Buddhist monk. His life, his family, and also the origin of his journey to the Western paradise and to bring back the Buddhist scriptures. And the third part is about Xuanzang's adventure. So how Xuanzang and his disciples, so on his way, Xuanzang converted the monkey. You can see the slide here, and the monkey, Sun Wukong, and also Zhu Bajie, Pigzi, and Sha Wujin, the 3 disciples. So they all become Xuanzang disciple and the protectors. They accompany Xuanzang on his quest for the Buddhist scriptures. So this is the 3 major part of the novel. And however, there was a long distance between China, Chang'an, and the Western paradise, supposedly in India. And they don't have the Zoom technology, so they cannot set up the current meetings and share the screens. And if they could do that, they don't have to go to travel at all, right? But they didn't have it, so they had to travel. And there was numerous demons, monsters, and beasts along the way. So we know they tend to attack people. They want to do bad things, but on the other hand, right, they don't have to do the bad thing on this particular monk, Xuanzang, right? Even though they are the monsters, the beasts, they could be tired of eating people all the time, right? Maybe they need a break, right? And or maybe they simply not in the mood of eating on that day when the monk passed by. So they need some kind of the incentive. So the novelist seems to want to make sure the monsters, the beasts, are going to pose a real threat upon the pilgrims, the monk and his disciples. So he offered the actual credit and to encourage these the beasts and monsters to attack this Xuanzang and his disciples. So there was a rumor in the novel saying that whoever could take a bite of Xuanzang's flesh could become immortal. So that is a huge incentive, right? Then want to become immortal. So these those monsters, they want to attack the Xuanzang. And furthermore, Xuanzang was very handsome. He was a monk, but he's very handsome. So which also, of course, attract some female the demons' attention. So a lot of other troubles along the way. All right, but fortunately, he had the three disciples, especially the Monkey King, who possesses the supernatural powers, and also the Guan Yin. We're going to talk about Bodhisattva Guan Yin. We're going to talk about later. They protect the Xuanzang, so eventually complete their mission, and bring back a lot of the Buddhist scriptures back to China. So this is basic stories. Okay. So they have different names, right? Xuanzang sometimes is called Tang Sanzang. Sun Wukong is monkey. Zhu Bajie, according to author with translation, is a pixie. And there is a Sha Wujin, it's a monk Sha. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about my story with the sculpture here. Okay, a few years ago, when I first came to Holy Cross, and I began to teach a course on traditional Chinese literature. In that course, I used Arthur Whitty's work entitled Monkey, which is a bridged English translation of Chinese novel Journey to the West, the Xi You Ji. The original novel, as I mentioned earlier, has 100 chapters, but Whitty's translation is very short. It's only includes 30 chapters. So one day I went to the Worcester Art Museum, and this sculpture caught my attention. Okay, so by the way, if Holy Cross students, if you go to the Worcester Art Museum, they have the wonderful connections of artwork. And in addition, if you are a Holy Cross student, you can get a free admission if you show ID, right? So let's look at the sculpture here. The sculpture here consists of 3 parts. So the Bodhisattva, the main body is the Bodhisattva, Guan Yin, sitting in a royal ease posture. So you can see the leg, one of the leg crossed in front of the body, and the other knee is raised with a hand resting on the knee. Unfortunately, the hand is missing. Okay, the hand is missing here. And we saw the scarf, right? And on the body, and also on the head of the Guan Yin, there's a crown there. And you probably cannot see this, right? But if you go to the Worcester Art Museum website, they have the better quality of image, and then you can zoom in and zoom out. It's pretty cool, okay? But here is, I can tell you, here is the Buddha here, right? It's this kind of this very small Buddha, which indicates the Guan Yin, the Bodhisattva has already achieved the enlightenment, right? But Bodhisattva doesn't want to abandon, right? According to Mahayana Buddhism, it doesn't want to abandon the sentient beings in trying to help them, right, escape all the kind of suffering. So Bodhisattva Guan Yin is actually the Bodhisattva of compassion, right? According to the Lotus Sutra, if people were in the suffering, if they sincerely call upon Guan Yin's name, and Guan Yin will help them escape this suffering. Okay, so and let's move to the lower part. So lower part, you can see the pedestal here. There's a lotus petal, right, on the base here, and also there is a dragon circling around the pedestal, and you can see the clouds here, right, And can you see my cursor here? Okay, good. And within the cloud, there's a pearl, right? The dragon ball here, right? So dragon in the traditional Chinese culture, it's often associated with water. So in charge of the reigning in the human world, the presence of the dragon here also corroborated this idea with the Guanyin. The form of Guanyin is actually the water moon Guanyin. So in Chinese called 水月观音. So this kind of the Guanyin has different different forms. Okay, this is one of the form that became particular since became popular since 10th century, especially Song Dynasty. So the water moon Guanyin here, and on the top of the Guanyin's head, right above the Guanyin's head, we can see can go to the right image here. We have the two figures and the horse, right, crossing through the rocky landscape. So if you know some Chinese, right, you know this kind is a mountain here. Look at the background here. This is exactly the Chinese character mountain, right? Shan, right? So it's a kind of the picture graph here. And the first figure, so it looks like the monkey, not very clear, right? And on his head, there is kind of the headband here, okay? And on his back, there is something, probably a weapon. So it's a round-shaped object. I'm not sure about what it is. It might be a weapon. And in the Boston, the MFA, there's also a painting or textile. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it talked about the Hanuman. Some scholars argue there's a connection between the monkey and the Hanuman here. And in that particular image, and Hanuman hold a mace. So it's also the round shaped and on the one end. So could it be a mace or could it be a fan, right? Just a fan, so it's a round shaped fan. So and in some other visual representations of the Buddhist monks, you can see some people also, some monks also hold a fan here. We're not sure what it is. And you can see the monkey trying to pull the horse forward, right? So here after the monkey, there's a horse here. And on the back of the horse, you can see something there, right? On the saddle there. We're not exactly sure what it is. It could be some package, right? Could be some, you know, maybe it's the scriptures, right? You're not exactly sure. Later on, we're gonna see more examples here. And also, I want to point out there is a tiny figure here. I circle around. It's a monkey figure. If you take a closer look, it's a small monkey hanging upside down on the cliff. Okay. So this sculpture, and also you have the last one figure is the monk. We're going to talk about it later. So the sculpture was originally labeled as Guanyin seated in the grotto. So I went to Worcester Art Museum library, and the staff member there helped me find more information regarding the sculpture. So there is a short essay. It's one-page short essay published in the Bulletin of Worcester Art Museum in 1933. It was written by a person called PBC, so probably it's Perry Beacott, who was associate curator and lecturer at Worcester Art Museum at the time. So that essay mostly focused on the Guanyin, right? The main body of sculpture, the Guanyin here. And it also mentioned in passing the dragon at the bottom and also the two figure and a horse on the top. So it says, and at the bottom, there are two dragons. As I said, two intertwining dragons are circling around the bottom. But I take a close look at the bottom here, the base here. I only see the one dragon. One dragon had 4 claws. I didn't see the other dragon at all. But you know, there are some time, right? The essay was written in 1933, so I found this kind of the sculpture in the 2012 or 2013. So it's many years in between, something could happen to the sculpture, right? Maybe there were two dragons circling on the bottom, but somehow they didn't get along with each other. So one is kind of broke up, the one flew away, right? So who knows? So for the top, right? For top, it's kind of interesting. The essay identified the top here as top figures as a Buddhist monk. No, a Taoist priest. Taoist priest with his attendant and the horse. So, but if you take a look at the last figure, this one, and you can see it's clearly it is a Buddhist monk. It's a Buddhist monk with a shaved head and holding a Buddhist staff in one hand and a rosary in the other hand, and also he is wearing a Buddhist robe, a long robe with wide sleeves. So it's definitely the Buddhist monk here. So it's very interesting, and and also the essays, right, as I mentioned, it then mentioned the connection between the sculpture and the GOG stories. So as far as I know, no one had noticed this connection since the 1930s. So in recent years, the scholars in the GOG field had paid more and more attention to the visual representation of the COG stories. But now they mention this sculpture. So it is a hidden gem in the Worcester. So this also reminds me of the Casanova's discussion of American writer Henry James' story, the figure in the carpet. So basically, there is the figure or the pattern in the carpet is exposed to all, and at the same time, it remains hidden. So the reader need to be prepared to shift one's perspective, right, his or her perspective, in order to discern this kind of the figure or the patterns. So in order to look at these patterns associated with this sculpture, we need to turn to other visual representations relate to this COG tradition. Okay, we're gonna back to sculpture later. Okay, so all right, so. The novel Journey to the West is actually based on the Buddhist monk Xuanzang's historical pilgrimage to India. So it's based on a real historical event. So in the in the 629, Xuanzang, right, the Buddhist monk Xuanzang, and left Chang'an. Chang'an was the capital of China at that time in Tang Dynasty, and he left Chang'an. He left for India. And after 17 years, and he bring back a lot of the Buddhist scriptures. So the reasons he decided to go to India is he wanted to further his studies in the Buddhism. He had some questions couldn't be solved, so he wanted to further the studies. So what is a good way to further one study? If you study the Buddhism, right? Buddhism's originates in India, right? You can go to study abroad. You need to go to India, right? So our students say same thing, right? If you want to study language, the culture, you need to go to that language, the culture, right? The place, right? The country there, right? And another reason is trying to introduce these Buddhist sculptures back to China. So after 17 years, he brought voluminous Buddhist scriptures back to China, and then he devoted the rest of his life to translating these scriptures. So as a prominent figure, translator and the founder of the Buddhist sect, so Xuanzang has created a lasting impact upon East Asian cultures. So his pilgrimage has inspired a wide variety of representations in the literature and the religion. So legends began to emerge during his lifetime, and over centuries, they gradually evolved into a distinct tradition, which focused on the Xuanzang's pilgrimage and especially how Xuanzang and his companions overcome the obstacles and along the way, and eventually complete their mission. So the tradition culminated in the 16th century novel, The Journey to the West, the 西游记, so in which the hero of the story is already shifted from the Xuanzang to the Monkey King. So this kind of the shift drew our attention to the gap in our knowledge of the formation of the 西游记 tradition in the early stage. So we don't know when and how this monkey entered the 西游记 stories. Okay, so in the earliest extant written version of the 西游记 stories, monkey already become a major protector of the Xuanzang. It was produced in the 13th century. So, and the journeys already were turned into the journey of fantasy. So nevertheless, there is a notable gap as well between these earliest extant version of the 西游记 stories and earlier antecedents in the 9th century. So it's in Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty. So there is a gap in between. So if you look at the earlier antecedents in the Tang Dynasty in the 9th century, there are some, not many, right? There are some accounts of Xuanzang's pilgrimage, but they are in general they are short and relatively sober. Right? There are no much demons, beasts in account. But in the 大唐三藏取经诗话, the earliest written version of a 西游 story, we see it already become a journey of fantasy. So they fought against demons along the way. All right. So how did, right? They didn't know. Now they mentioned the Monkey King who will occupy the central position in the later tradition. Right? So how did these stories circulate and developed during the early stage of the 西游记 tradition? Right? And so one way to deal with this question is to look at the visual representations, right? And so here is the image. If you look at to the left, here is the image of Xuanzang carrying the scrolls. So this is actually a modern paper writing, right? So if you look at the image here, this is a Buddhist monk Xuanzang. In one hand, he's holding a scroll here. In the other hand, he's holding a fly whisk here. And over his head, there is a big canopy here. And useful in today's raining days, it's very useful, right? And there is an incense burner hanging down in the front. So he's carrying a large backpack. Then inside the backpack, there are scrolls there. So, and also around his neck, there is the necklace, the skull necklace here, okay? So, interestingly, this is a modern paper writing. It's a modern reproduction of the image on the right. So actually it's a portrait of Xuanzang in the Kamakura period in Japan. So it's in the 14th century. You can see the similarity of striking, right? That's very striking. So many scholars have pointed out this type of the representation of Xuanzang, right, is actually influenced by the earlier depiction of an itinerant foreign traveler carrying a backpack. So let's take a look at the image here. Okay. So there are several 9th or 10th 9th century and 10th century the paintings discovered in the Dunhuang caves. Dunhuang is located in the northwestern China. So they were discovered in the early 20th century. So now they were housed in different places, different museums in the world, in Britain, France, Russia, and other countries. So if you compare those, I only select two here. If you compare these, the figure in the image, they all wear the big hat here, right? Occasionally, some of them put the hat on the backpack, but in general, they all wear this big hat, and they hold a fly whisk in one hand, and in the other hand, they have this kind of leash here. At the end of the leash, right, there is there is an animal here, animal attendant. Based on the stripes on the body, it's probably the tiger. And so the tiger can serve as a guardian of the traveler, right? And also it can show the power of Buddhism. You can tame a tiger. So it's the, and the upper left corner, there is the Buddha here, right? Sitting on the lotus throne here, and is in the cloud here. And also on his backpack, there's on his back, there's a big backpack. And also there are scrolls inside the backpack. So we are not sure about a similar thing happened in this painting as well, right? So we are not sure about the identity of this traveler, and we don't know what is what are scrolls about. So some scholars says it's a Buddhist monk carrying the Buddhist scriptures. The scrolls actually the Buddhist scriptures. So other scholars question that they don't agree. They argue that at that time the Buddhist scriptures were written on the flat leaves. So this is not a scrolls. So another theory is came up by other scholars is actually this person is a transformation performer, transformation text. So transformation text, 辩文 is actually the kind of the text trying to used to promote Buddhist doctrines. So it often involves oral performance, storytelling, and also visual aids as well. So the scrolls here probably the picture, right? So when you tell the story and you tell the story, you can unfold the scrolls. So there are images, just like the PowerPoint slide we use, right? There are images here, right? Then tell the stories, engage the audience here. And we are not sure. And the painter probably could be the misrepresentation because the painter at that time probably didn't know, right? The Buddhist scripture written on the flat leaves, or maybe they follow this kind of the tradition, right? The conventional traditions in visual arts, right? And portraying these kind of figures. So they have these kind of scrolls here, right? We're not that sure. And this is not a realistic representation. And because in real life, if you look at tiger, few people will use a tiger as a guardian, right? So there's certain kind of elements of imagination here. So, see here, this kind of the image was later assimilated into the representation of Xuanzang. So we have the previous portrait of Xuanzang, the monk, right, in Japan. So very similar to the figures here. So, and such a representation of the itinerant monk actually fits the popular imagination of Xuanzang as a Buddhist pilgrims on his way, right, for his mission. So think about that. If Xuanzang was traveling right now, if you ask his friend want to know what happened, right? So ask him to maybe upload the picture on the Instagram, right? So this will be the best moment of selfie moment, right? So the point here is just kidding, right? The point here is the people prefer this particular image, kind of image, partly because it fits their imagination of Xuanzang, the Buddhist traveler program, right? So let's move to another examples here. Okay, so the Song Dynasty, right? Song Dynasty also witnessed another important iconographic development of the Xiuji tradition here. So if you recall the previous representation of Xuanzang, so there is something missing there. One thing is the Buddha on the upper left corner is missing, and also more importantly, the animal attendant disappears, right? And but in this new development, iconographic development, the animals comes back. Okay, so this here is Yulin grottos. I went there a few years ago, and if you look outside, it's quite ordinary, right? It's nothing special. And if you look at the right picture here, there's a holes there, right? You can see there actually the caves. So once you step into the caves, stepped in a whole new different world. Okay, so they're surrounded by the wall paintings, huge wall paintings and statues, right, created 1,000 years ago. And when I went there, it was summer, it was very hot outside, but inside the cave was pleasantly cool. So it's very good. Now, so if you go inside the cave, right, you can see some image related to the Xiuji stories. So here is the part of the wall painting here. So you can see the Bodhisattva, the Puxian, sitting on the white elephant, right? The size is very large. And also on the left, you probably notice, right, on the left here. So there are some figures here, right? There are two figures. We're gonna have see the detail later, okay? So there are two figures and the horse, the white horse here. And on the right image, right, the painting here. So we see water moon Guanyin. It's very similar to a sculpture, the Guanyin we just saw in the sculpture. See, a leg crossed in front of the body, and then has the other knees raised, the hand rest on the knee. This time we do have the hand here, okay? So it's a royal ease posture here. And it's Guanyin Bodhisattva. And also, second, okay. On the right lower corner, you see the figures here, okay? Figures here. So, so both paintings share some similarities. So Bodhisattva Guanyin become a center figure, and then the two figures and a horse, right? They standing in the periphery, pay the reverence to the Bodhisattva. So, and also they were separated by the water, right? In both paintings, probably trying to keep the social distancing. I don't know. So, all right. So this is let's take a closer look at this the image here. Now you can see this, right? This is left the detail of the left image painting here. So in the front, there is a monk here, right? So the first figure is a Buddhist monk. You can see the halo, right, behind his head, right? So he's not an ordinary monk. And behind him, there's another figure. So you can clearly see the monkey head. Oh, this is the quality is not good, but it is a monkey head. So it's the monkey attendant here. And then you have the white horse here. And on the back of the horse, you see there's a lotus throne, and then on it there's a package here, right? Probably inside is the scriptures, Buddhist scriptures. You see the lights. There are the lights. Really, it's the lights up to the sky. So, and on the right painting here, right? And again, you see the two figures. The monk standing in the front. So this monk wear a long Buddhist robe, right, and the wide sleeves. This is remind us of the Buddhist monk in the sculpture. And then there is followed by another his attendant. But it's not clear, right? But it looks like a monkey, but it's not clear. And then there's a horse, the horse, and after the attendant here, right? All right, so this is, in addition to the Dunhuang cave, there are other similar representations of the Guanyin and the figures and the attendant and the white horse is discovered in the Shanxi province and the Sichuan province, okay? So I don't have time to talk about that. So I want to go back to this, the sculpture and look at the connection between sculpture and the visual representation we just saw here. So you probably notice the similarity between the painting and the sculpture here. So Bodhisattva occupies the center, and it's very prominent in size. At the same time, we have the two small figures with one horse standing in the peripheries, right? So at the same time, there are some differences. And those differences is important if we think about the development of the Xiuji tradition. So the first thing is I want to say about this representation of the monk here. So in the paintings, right, the Yulin, Yulin grottos. The monk doesn't have anything in his hand. And but in the sculpture, we saw the monk, right here, can still see it, what the staff in a hand and also the rosary in the other hand. So that is something. The Buddhist staff here is very important, because when you look at the earliest literary version of the Xiuji stories, actually the Buddhist staff were given to the Xuanzang and the monkey by the heavenly king of the north. And later in the novel, in the novel also you see the Guanyin give the Buddhist staff to pilgrims. So that is I think the one important thing. The position of the monk and the monkey also changed, right? In the painting, you see the monk stand in the front before the monkey, but in the sculpture, you see their position changes. The monkey here, the attendant here, right? Attendant here actually standing in the front, so suggesting he's kind of the guardian and the guide, right, of the monk in this case. All right, and I want to quickly show some illustrations from the later Ming edition. It's probably the 17th century a novel. Here, I use a red circle. You can see here, monk. They encounter this kind of Taoist priest. It's actually transformed by demon. Okay, they want to eat Tripitaka. So here is the monkey. Monkey standing in the front, right? And holding the weapon here, the cudgel here, and then there is a horse, and then we have the Xuanzang, the Buddhist monk, holding the Buddhist staff here. And this one is, I think, bear more similarities with the sculpture here, right? You see the rocky landscape here, monkey went first, and then Xuanzang, this time is sitting on the horse, maybe a little bit tired, okay? But you can see the similarities right here, right? Okay, I think it's very interesting to see the sculpture at the Wuxi Art Museum, how they connect to the earlier paintings and the later illustrations in the novel. So, and last, I want to briefly mention about the dragon and the horse here, because that's also very interesting, represented in the sculpture here. So in the sculpture, we see the horse on the top of the sculpture and the dragon at the bottom of the sculpture. So they create an interesting relationship, which resonates with some elements in the Xiuji tradition. So in the novel, there was a dragon prince who accidentally set fire to a palace and burned the pearl. So he was going to be executed, and Guanyin saved his life and ask him to wait in the mountain stream to wait for the arrival of the pilgrims. So when the pilgrims arrived, however, the dragon didn't recognize him. So dragon here, you can see, he swallowed the horse. And then, so this, if you read the Chinese here, it's Jian Zhong Ye Long, right? The dragon who received the karmic retribution in the mountain stream, 吞下白马, swallowed by horse. All right, so the monkey was not happy. They trying to fight with the dragon and get back the horse. I don't know why. The dragon already swallowed the horse, right? You don't expect the horse still alive, right? But some folklore you can see, this kind of common motif, right? A certain person was swallowed by a big fish, and after a period of time, they still survive, a couple of days. So, but he couldn't subdue the dragon because the monkey was not good at fighting under the water, and the dragons keep escaping from monkey. So, and eventually Guanyin came. So if you move to this panel here, Guanyin came here, and Guanyin shouted at the dragon and asked the dragon to transform itself into the white horse. So it provided the transportation to the Tripitaka, the Xuanzang here. Okay, all right. So this is the dragon and horse, and actually this kind of connection can be traced back to an earlier period, the dragon and horse connection. So this is the picture here is a pagoda, it's a Western pagoda in the Kaiyuan Temple in Quanzhou. So in the Kaiyuan Temple, there are two pagodas, Western pagoda and Eastern pagoda. So they were built in the 13th century, and they all have the five stories. And on the, you cannot see it here, but on the fourth story, there is an individual panel carving. So we have the Xuanzang carving, Tripitaka carving, and they have the monkey head guarding, right? And according to the relief as well, according to a temple tradition, this figure has been identified as a monkey, Sun Wukong. And on the same floor, there's Guan Yin, and there is a carving of the fiery dragon prince. So the two scholars, Gustav Eck and Paul Damiavel, they wrote a book called Twin Pagodas of Zayton. So they had conducted the thorough research on the pagoda, right? So here is a description from the book with regard to the fiery dragon prince. A figure dressed like a guardian deity with a princely tiara. In the left hand, the figure holds a ball. In the right hand, a spear from the tip of which a calabash is hanging. From the top of the calabash, there emanates a cloud on which a horse carrying on its saddle a lotus flower. They are not sure, so they put a question mark. So I take a look at it, could be the package, right? Maybe inside the scripture, inside some scripture inside, I'm not sure. So it appears in the upper right corner of the carving. So our carving is certainly a representation of the dragon prince with a white horse, but the inscription and the several details of the carving do not agree with the text of the novel as we now have it. So I don't think that's it's a problem, because you don't agree with the novel. Because the novel was produced in the 16th century, but the pagoda was actually built in the 13th century. So you don't expect something in the 13th century and anticipate in the novel in the 16th century, right? So it's completely fine in my eyes. But there are also some scholars question this kind of the connection here. So there is also a scholar, Glenn Dudbridge. So it's a very excellent scholar. I really respect this scholar. And he had a book on the antecedents to the novel Xi You Ji here. So in the book, he says there's no mention of such a dragon in the Kozanji version. And the white horse appears only insignificantly as a gift from the queen of the land of the monkey. So I give some explanation of the Kozanji here, right? So basically Kozanji is a temple in Japan. So when the earliest extant version of the Xi You Ji story was first discovered, right, they were stored in the Kozanji temple. So sometimes the scholars refer to them as the Kozanji version. Okay, so that it is, there are two copies. They are essentially the same text. So it's earliest extant written version of Xi You Ji stories. And it is true that there's no such dragon in the Kozanji version, but there is something similar, right? There's something similar in that written version. So in the chapter 7, in the Da Tang Sanzang Qujin Shihua, the title is Entering the Nine-Dragon Pond. So in the program, the monkey and the Xuanzang, they encounter the dragon, 9 dragons at this place. So the monkey used the Buddhist staff and fight against the dragon. So eventually he subdued the 9 dragons, and pulled out the dragons' tendons from their spines and made a belt for the Xuanzang. Okay, interesting thing is after Xuanzang put on the belt, he can walk very fast. So whenever there is a difficult place, they just leap over it. So it's in terms of function, it's really similar to the dragon horse in the later the period, or in other representations in the Song Dynasty, like what we saw, the sculpture and also the panel reliefs on the pagoda. So, and also the white horse also mentioned twice, not once. Not just the gift from the Queen of Land women, but also at the end of the story, when they complete their mission, the white horse appears as transportation for carrying the scriptures back to China. So it is in this particular text, maybe the dragon and the horse have not, combined, merged into one thing. But in other, representation, we see that the connection is very clear. And in fact, in the Xuanzang, historical Xuanzang, he actually had this record account of his own travelogue, basically travel account of his own journey to India. So also he includes anecdote about this dragon horse. So they're basically dragon and horse in a certain place. They mate with each other, then they produce this kind of dragon horse. So there are some connection here. Now so if you look at this sculpture here, right? There's a dragon and holding a pearl here, right? It's similar to a description of the pagoda, the Panna pagoda, right? The Panna pagoda, there's a horse above the dragon, right? Above dragon prince, right? And also the holding a pearl as well. So I'm going to say some concluding remarks, and so basically there were diverse representations of Xiuji stories in the early period. Not only are they related to different places and regions, they are also related to different media. So we can rather divide the circulation of Xiuji stories into three systems: so oral and a performing tradition, and also the written tradition, and the last one will be the visual, right? Visual representation. So different medium associated with different contexts might create a different representation. For example, the book maybe aims to entertain the reader, so it focuses on the adventure of the program. The wall paintings and sculpture might serve as an object of veneration. So the Guanyin, right, might occupy the center. So there is a fluidity and a transformation in the early development of the Xiuji stories. Some elements still change from time to time, from place to place. Certain pattern, right, gradually emerge and become stabilized and strengthened in a later reception. So there is no linear development in the tradition, but we can get an idea of the different stages of its progression here. So the sculpture at the Worcester Art Museum, right, two figures, a horse and a Guanyin and the dragon at the bottom, provides us with opportunity to examine the possibilities in the early evolution of the Xiuji tradition, right? Connecting the different the representations, right, from the different system, different time period, and different regions. So it also corroborates the pattern in the development of the Xiuji stories in its own unique way. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hao. I know that we're close to our end of time, but we want to take some time to answer questions that people might have. And like I said, I ask that you post your questions in the chat. Mm-hmm. And so while people think about the questions that they want to ask, let me just ask you the information, the 1933 report that the library there at the Worcester Art Museum provided you on the sculpture. Mm-hmm. Based on what you know today, how accurate was its description in successfully describing all the imagery in the sculpture?
Well, so I think the description in the Bulletin of Worcester Art Museum, published in 1933, I think this is correctly observed this, the Guanyin's form is a water moon form, water moon Guanyin. Right? We talk about this kind of royal ease posture. I think and also that's it's accurate. And also it points out, although very briefly, dragon and two figures and horse on dragon at the bottom, and two figures and horse on the top. But I think the dragon, right? It's there's only one dragon. It says there are two intertwining dragons circling around the bottom, but I only see one dragon. And so another thing is problem I notice is a misidentified figure. It's not a Taoist priest, but actually is a Buddhist monk. Okay.
Excellent. So, Amanda Leister, she poses the question, very fascinating argument. She's curious about what would be the original context of that particular sculpture in the Worcester Art Museum. Do you know anything about it? Was this freestanding? Was it originally part of a larger temple, a larger ensemble, or some cult site?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm trying to figure out that. So, and actually, when I check the information in the Worcester Art Museum library, so I know the donor of this the sculpture is called Stefan Bouchard, and I don't have much information of this donor, but in the book published by I think the 2003 maybe is from the University of Chicago, the press, and it mentions in the 1920s and in the Worcester Art Museum they have the kind of the exhibition, and it mentions the donor is actually the New York-based art dealer. But I couldn't find much information regarding this one, so I don't know where he got this kind of sculpture from. So I don't know where is the original context of the sculpture. So yeah, but I can but I think it's probably it's used as the object of veneration, right? So because you can see Guanyin is the most important the place in the sculpture.
So that actually answered Claudia Ross's question, because she was wondering about whether how the museum acquired the sculpture. Yeah. But Amanda Leister actually poses another question about it. When you actually look at the back of the sculpture, can you tell anything about whether it was designed to be freestanding or separate from something else?
Yeah, I did look at the back of the sculpture. So I don't know, back of sculpture is kind of flat. So I don't really know this is, or maybe it's freestanding or connect to other things, part of the larger, the architecture. I don't really know. And the hand, right? Hand is also missing. So something happened to this sculpture. So, and I don't know what happened. I wish I could know that. Yeah.
It's always interesting to think about the, obviously there's the provenance of an object, but also its traveling history, especially where it originated, who the actual sculpture was, and how it actually ended up leaving China, and how it actually ended up here in the United States or in the possession of the donor. Mm-hmm. Clearly, unless you have a good paper trail, those are unknowns, and it's hard to tell how much you do some additional research.
Right, right.
So Karen Turner, she actually posed the question, what do these visual representations tell us about the women's place in these stories?
That's very interesting. I think that's a very interesting question. Okay, so one thing I can relate is the Guanyin, right? The representation of Guanyin. So we know the Guanyin, the representation of Guanyin has experienced the change, right, throughout history. So before the Song, the Guanyin is portrayed as a masculine figure. So and from Song onward, something happened. So we can see this kind of the family Guanyin figures appears in Song Dynasty onward. So, and I think the one of the reason maybe for the from the perspective of viewers, maybe this is more like the representation of women here is more like close, so they can you stay close to the ordinary people. So, and I don't really know how that's historically how that reflects the women's place in the story, but that's only one thing I can think of. It's right. It's a Guanyin's representation here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever, and so whenever you think about other sculptures,
mm-hmm.
there are other sculptures that you've encountered that have the same story in them, and how do they differ from the story of the Worcester Art Museum sculpture?
I actually, I think I did not encounter, any similar sculpture with regard to the Xiyoji tradition, but I do encounter the wall paintings and the panel reliefs. And the most recently, I discovered there is a abandoned bell, the Buddhist bell in the Buddhist temple in China. So it's kind of it's in the a little bit later period. So it's in the 15th century. So it just abandoned there. No one paid attention to it. So I just visited the Buddhist temple and saw, wow, the corner is the bell there. And then all of a sudden I saw this kind of image there. I say, oh, wow, it's the monkey. This is kind of the stories. That's amazing. So I discovered it like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, can't remember. And then last year I went back and the bell was still abandoned, placed in the corner. And first time when there is raining day, I remember the 2 dogs lying next to the bell. Second time when I went there, it's only 1 dog. It's kind of sad there. And then there was a boy like 6 or 7 years old, and he noticed the image there. He said. He said to his grandma, hey, "Grandma, look, there is image, maybe a story." But his grandma maybe is kind of tired that time. He said, "Kiddo, let's go, let's move." So yeah, but I haven't encountered any like sculpture, but there are other visual representations, other forms, medium that carry this kind of the reference to the Xiyoji stories. And also there's a pillow as well. In the museum, Guangdong Museum, there's a pillow. There's a pillow, the Yuan Dynasty, the porcelain pillow. And there on the pillow, there are 4 pilgrims and a horse as well.
So Christina Chen actually asks a very interesting question. Can you share about what the moment was like when you began to think you had discovered something important about this particular piece?
Wow, I don't know. I just very excited, I guess. Very excited, yeah. When I first discovered this sculpture, and I found this very exciting because I use I teach a novel. I teach a novel in the class, and then you see something in real life. You see it's kind of the thing, the connections, and it's very close to you. So it's kind of very excited. And later when I discovered the bell, I also feel very excited. And it's maybe there's kind of the karmic connections, affinity there. I don't know. No, I don't know.
And I think sometimes whenever we become tuned into something, we see things in places where people typically walk past. Very similar to what Professor Svani commented about in his talk yesterday, of what is visible on buildings. You walk by it all the time and you never realize what's there until you get tuned into it.
You're right.
All right. We're at our end, but I wanted to give people a chance to ask any final questions before we said thank you, Professor Hao. Any final questions? All right. Everyone seems to agree that this was fabulous. This was very interesting. And we really thank you for taking time to spend some of today talking about your work, especially the connectivity to not only China, but what we have right here in our backyard at the Worcester Art Museum. I encourage everyone to go over to the Worcester Art Museum. Maybe you will also discover something new that you might add to your research or your interest. Professor Howe, thank you so very much for participating, being our next speaker. And we really enjoyed this. And if I'm sure if anybody else has any follow-up questions, they are welcome to email you or reach out to you in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for attending. And we will let you know when the next Author on the Hill event is to happen. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.